seconds until the sound kicks in. I don't know why that is. So this aquarium has started with a very, very bumpy start. So basically it's a relatively new tank and a bunch of fish was added into the aquarium. Now, the aquarium only recently got the air stones. So in each corner, there is now aeration. Air bubbles and air bubbles. But those air bubbles only went in yesterday. So what we need to be aware of is that this filter is a canister filter. It's a great filter, but what the filter does is use a process called oxidization. It uses oxygen to grow good bacteria to break down the waste from the fish. Now the issue is that if you go and chuck a bunch of fish in this tank and the fish are using lots of oxygen, then the water goes down into the filter and the filter is using lots of oxygen. Then the water comes back into the tank again and maybe there's a little bit of surface agitation, so there might be a little bit of re-aeration. It's not aeration, it's re-aeration. Because if the water goes into the filter and the filter sucks all the oxygen out, then when it comes back, it might just put a bit of oxygen back in that it took out. So it's potential of a downward spiral in our dissolved oxygen level. Now, if we have a downward spiral in our dissolved oxygen level, then we're going to get a downward spiral in what's called our redox potential. Now, redox potential is how quick the bacteria can break down the waste. If the bacteria is not able to break down the waste very quick, you need to grow more bacteria. And if you grow more bacteria, that means your oxygen goes down faster, which means your redox goes down faster, which means that it doesn't work. So it's really important to segregate in your mind aeration and filtration, particularly if it's not a planted aquarium. It is important to be aware with plants. The plants are going to photosynthesize, which means they're going to produce oxygen in the daytime. They're going to produce CO2 at night. So that's just something to be aware of. But if you've got a new tank, you put the fish in too quickly, the fish are using all the oxygen, there's not enough good bacteria in the filter, there's not enough oxygen for the bacteria in the filter, then your water will go cloudy. So basically there's two types of bacteria. There's bacteria that grows in the water and there's bacteria that grows in the filter. We want the bacteria that grows in the filter because the bacteria that grows in the filter means your water is going to be crystal clear. And we need to have lots of good oxygen in the water in order to grow the good bacteria in the filter. Otherwise, we get the bacteria that grows in the water and nobody wants cloudy water. And that will mean low redox, and that means we can't have too many fish. So that's a big downward spiral. So we've probably already fixed that part of the problem. Because as of yesterday, the aeration went in, which means that the fish can be compensated by the oxygen from the air stone, and the filter can be compensated by the oxygen produced by the outlet. Now, it's really important that the outlet agitates the surface. So it's got to be breaking the surface. So the way it is now, it looks pretty good. But if you're in a situation where the water is returning lower and it's not breaking the surface, that's where this becomes an extra big problem. Because surface agitation is everything. If our surface is too flat, then we're going to have high surface tension and the gas will not exchange. If your surface is well broken, your surface tension will be low and we'll get much better surface agitation. So this issue of cloudy water due to low redox potential, low dissolved oxygen level, in this case has now been solved. Now, if you're new to aquariums, let's teach you all about the no-no. The no-no is chlorine. Now, in Sydney tap water, there is chlorine. So, chlorine sterilizes, and Sydney tap water doses chlorine to a maximum minimum level, which means that you can put chlorine, you can, for example, add water to your aquarium or clean your filter in tap water, and you can do it one day and have no problem. You can do it the next day and you can have massive problems. See, what's going to happen is your filter is going to grow lots of good bacteria in it. And it takes about 3 weeks to start growing good bacteria. So the no-no is never clean your filter with water from the tap. You must clean your filter in water from the fish tank. So that means we're going to remove a bit of water from the fish tank. We're going to clean the filter, throw that water away. It's great for the garden because any water that goes in the fish tank, we must add water agent. So let's have a little play around with what we've got here. So over weeks, the good bacteria will establish. Once the good bacteria is in there and we've got lots of good oxygen in the tank, we're going to have good redox potential, we're going to have good oxygen, everyone's going to be happy. But if we don't have enough oxygen in the tank, the bacteria is not going to be happy. Then if we go and clean the filter with chlorine, the bacteria is going to be dead and we start again. Because what needs to happen in the aquarium is we add a little bit of fish. Now what I'm going to recommend you do is bring a sample of water to Majestic Aquariums and a little video of the aquarium running. Then you add a little bit of fish. Then you wait a couple of weeks. You let the good bacteria establish in the filter. Then you come back again, bring another sample of water, another video. If everything's okay, you can then take some fish. So therefore, you're slowly going to increase the amount of fish that's in the tank. And at the same time as you're increasing the fish, you're going to increase the bacteria in the filter and everybody's going to be happy. Now let's have a look at what we've got here. We have got some stability and the whole bottle's gone. So that means that this tank has only been running since before Christmas and it is now just after Christmas. So if we've tipped this whole bottle into the tank, we've put shitloads of bacteria into the tank, way more bacteria than this filter could ever handle. So these products are great, but I do not want you to overdose them. Otherwise, you're going to put all this bacteria in the system when there's going to be no room for the bacteria to grow because you're going to over-bacteria the tank, and you're just going to make yourself, you're going to be one step forward and 10 steps back. So if you're going to use these products, don't overdose them. And keep them in the fridge once you open them because you'll find that the shelf life will be better. So I don't know if it says that on it, but I definitely find that these do better open in the fridge once you've opened it. So this concerns me because way too much bacteria has gone in the tank. So let's call that way too much of a good thing. That can go in the bin. Now, to make things even better, we've got a brand new bottle of exactly the same thing from a different brand. At least there's something in here that makes me feel a bit better. So these products here are okay to use, but you don't want to overdose them. Now, here you go. We found another empty bottle of the same product. This one here alone is probably enough to do this tank. And that's empty as well, so let's throw that one out. So this tank has had way too much bacteria because basically what's happened is the water's cloudy, so we've wanted to add good bacteria, which if you didn't have enough bacteria is a good thing. But if your problem is not bacteria and your problem is just low dissolved oxygen level and low redox potential, all you've done is dumped a whole lot of bacteria into a situation that can't grow bacteria. So you just made it worse. Now this is Stress Coat, which is a water ager. Now do you have any more water ager or just this?
Just that.
Okay, so we have none left. So every single time that we put new water in the aquarium, there is 3 things that I want you to be aware of. Number 1 is water ager. So this is a water ager. This must be in the water every time that you add new water. Otherwise you risk putting chlorine in the water. And I say risk because Sydney tap water doses chlorine to a maximum minimum level, which means you can do it one day and have no problem, do it the next day and you have a big problem. So I've got some in my car. I can give you some water ager today, and you make sure that you never do a water change, you never top the tank up, you never put water in your tank unless you've added water ager. You can overdose it a little bit, but don't go silly. So that's that. Got some test strips, which are sort of a good little see how it goes, but don't rely on it. I am not unhappy you have them, but if you get a problem with that, you want to go and get some more accurate tests. But as a simple little dipstick, I'm sort of happy with that. Now the other 2 things that I need you to be aware of. Number 1, water ager must go in the water all the time. Number 2 is KH. Sydney tap water often has 0 kH, so I'll often put a little bit of kH in whenever I do a top up. And then Sydney tap water, over time I want you to be aware of GH. So I'm going to do some more accurate tests right now, and I'll find out where these two are at. So basically every time that I add new water, I want to add water ager. I'll often add KH powder, and if I'm doing a water change, not a top up, I'll often add GH, because GH is your minerals and salts and they don't tend to evaporate. So I do not add GH products if the GH is already right. If you're topping up, I only add it for water changes, otherwise the GH will accumulate.